Okay, so welcome everyone to the Coaching Corner podcast, a place where it's really for coaches or people really wanting to get into coaching. So, as you know, everyone, we do one take with these podcasts and YouTube. So, whatever comes up is meant to come up. I strongly believe in that. And we have got the amazing Patrick Bryan here with us. I go to call you Pat because I'm so used to calling you Pat.
So yeah, I went a bit formal with naming myself there, didn't I? Sorry.
Patrick Bryan.
Only my mum calls me Patrick, so that is fine.
I love it. So we've got something different for our listeners today because usually we are talking to people who are professional coaches who have come on that coaching journey, been through the coaching training. Um, Everything that we're talking about today is something that coaches out there might have thought of doing before, and Pat can really help us with understanding more about this retreat idea. So whenever I speak to coaches, they're like, "Oh, I'd love to run a retreat. And like, do you know anyone who's got an amazing venue?" And the first name that comes into my mind now is definitely Pat and Jane. So Pat, tell us more about like your journey. How did you come to owning this amazing retreat venue and helping coaches and other people actually like shape and run their retreats?
Yeah. So I suppose both Jane and myself had this fairly woolly idea of retiring to Spain at some point, like probably half the British population, I should think. But we decided we were both trainers in the UK. Let's start there because this is sort of relevant to the story. Jane trains within the beauty and holistic and aesthetic world. I was mostly training in the barbering and, although you wouldn't think it to look at me, the male grooming industries. I was mostly teaching cutthroat razor shaving, which is a very niche thing to teach in. But it tied in with the male grooming through facial waxing and massage and manicures and things like that. So I was teaching barbers services that would complement their barbering, services that were once commonplace but aren't so much nowadays. We obviously within that travelled tens of thousands of miles a year up and down the length and breadth of the UK. And as we were getting to a more advanced age, it was just becoming more of a faff. As much as I do like a road trip, just the hours spent behind the wheel were taking their toll. So we decided, we had the bright idea, because we'd had a few really good years in business, we had a little nest egg, that maybe we could buy a house in Spain. Not to retire in, but to run as a training academy. So all of the beauty therapists and holistic therapists and barbers and that would come to us rather than us going to them. And then we found this magnificent heap of house, which I don't know, it was, I think, too brilliant a space just to keep to ourselves. So we decided that we wanted to share it with other retreat leaders. Obviously, we were running our own retreats here, training retreats. And Jane has a small membership where she does business mentoring for beauty therapists. So we run retreats for those as well. So actually running those retreats made us realise, because we had always written all of our own courses to a very high standard. And we realised that there was a huge crossover between organising a successful retreat and writing a successful training course, because it's all about the pacing, it's about presenting the content in different ways, but also, I suppose, not being afraid of gaps, spaces where people can assimilate and contemplate, things like that. So we found that we had a lot of transferable skills from our old life into the retreat industry. We started, well, actually, we moved over here January 2020, which probably wasn't great timing in the scheme of things. But as I always say to people, there were far worse places to ride out a global pandemic than sitting on a mountainside in Spain. But it did sort of blow a big hole in our plans. So when we reopened, that wasn't until mid-2022, we just needed bodies through the door. So we accepted every type of person who wanted to come and bring a retreat in. Dutch hiking groups, we've had authors, author coaches, we've had business CEOs, we had everyone through the door, and lots of yoga teachers, of course. But we decided, or we discovered, that the people we liked working with most were coaches. Who would know that when I ended up in the coaching corner? And the reason we like coaches so much is because they usually, or they should, or they do have an audience, they do have content, and they normally have, business and marketing skills as well. So in the great scheme of things of planning and running a retreat, they're half a dozen steps ahead of most other people who are sat there thinking, I could teach people how to play the ukulele or the accordion or how to crochet or things like that. Because while they are very worthwhile retreats, it takes a lot more planning when you have no audience or a cold audience, because you need to build up that like and trust and get people to want to buy into you. Whereas most coaches, I think, have a ready-made audience there who are probably as eager as they are to go on a retreat with them.
And I love, like, you're already starting to give us like lots of hints and tips about what would make a good kind of what would make a great retreat. So definitely having the audience that you can like market to, you can talk to about retreats. Something that you always say to me when we were like starting to think about running our retreat with you and starting to plan that, and I love that you offer that service where you'll like speak with the person, understand what it is that they need, also offer some guidance as well, which is what you've done with me and Vic, which has been amazing. But something that you told us from the very beginning is, yes, having the audience and things like that, which we've got already, but really offering like a retreat promise. Yeah, can you just tell us a bit more about that retreat promise?
Yes, it is, I suppose, that the promise of what your attendees are going to achieve when they're with you during their time on retreat. I almost said here, but being a bit presumptuous, isn't it? But people, even if they're working with you, still need a reason to come on the retreat. They need to know what you are going to deliver for them. As much as they like you, at the end of the day, as with most marketing and things like that, it's down to what you can deliver for the person you're trying to sell to. So they need, it doesn't need to be, a huge life-changing event, but particularly if people are working with you, then you should have a good idea of what they're seeing as the next step. And that's what you need to provide them. One thing that goes hand in hand with that, because we have seen through some of the retreats that have come through here, people over delivering on content, just putting far too much. They think, obviously they want to give people value for money. They want to very often just impart their knowledge to people, and the temptation is to just overwork people. By the end of day one, people are already glassy-eyed because they've had 4 hours of being talked at, and that's and they've got 3 or 4 days ahead of them. So alongside having a really good retreat promise, which isn't, it can be very hard for some people. This is why I'm saying coaches are usually in a good position, because they know the segments that are within their audience. They know which part of their content is relevant to them. And they also know where they are in that journey already, because they're already working with them. So to actually tailor a message or a promise to 6 people, 8 people, 10 people out of their audience isn't
Yeah.
that. It becomes really hard when, like we've had yoga teachers come in, and their audience is 3 OAPs on a Tuesday morning in the village hall, you know, and they don't understand the concept of targeting and making a promise. One said
Yeah.
to us, oh yeah, all of my women who come to the classes, I've talked to them about the retreat, but they're all going on 3 holidays already this year. And I said, that's your problem. If they see what you're offering them as a holiday rather than, oh, I don't like the word transformation, but sometimes you can't avoid it,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
transformational experience, then you've got no chance, because you are competing against the holidays that they've got already booked. They should be looking at it and thinking, oh my God, this is what I'm going to achieve while I'm with you for 5 days.
Yeah.
You know, so they need to work a lot harder on identifying an audience and targeting it with an, I won't say ironclad, but a retreat guarantee that is going to excite people as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be not only what you think they need, but what they want as well.
Yeah. And I love when you said the word transformational, I was thinking, like, I don't want to call it that because that's not tangible, isn't it? When you say you're going to have a transformation, well, what does that actually mean? So
Yeah,
some people might say, well, it's going to be a transformational experience. And when you said the retreat promise, I'm like, how do you translate the transformation that people will get into this retreat promise? And the first thing that comes to mind is I bet you have had people who have run really like successful retreats with you and had a really strong promise that is about this transformation that people will experience, but in a way that's more tangible for people. So have you, like, can you give us some examples of really great like retreat promises that you've come across?
it's difficult to generalize too much,
Yeah.
because I think each individual retreat is so different.
Mm.
But the key to writing a killer retreat promise is to actually know your audience so well that you're speaking their language. You know, a lot of people just turn off when they see the word transformation, or
Yeah.
and you know, I've got a whole long list of words that are just meaningless cliches now.
Yeah.
So you need, if you understand that particular segment of your audience that you are targeting, then you will probably know how to speak to them in language that directly, you know, identifies what you are trying to say to them. I would always avoid using the word transformation if at
Yeah.
all possible. It's very hard to come up to it with an alternative, though. I've started using sort
I
of
suppose it is
provoking
like
change.
what is the transformation? Like, is
Yeah,
it in your confidence? Is it in your ability to do something? Is it, yeah,
I think if people are already working with you and know you, the know, like, and trust factor,
yeah,
it's a lot easier, because you don't have to build that trust. It should already be there.
yeah,
It is difficult for some people who are still in that building stage to have that authority, I suppose, that
mm,
people are going to be able to trust them. But it is the fact that, you know, once you know what the pain points of your audience are,
mm,
and you know you've identified a solution to that.
mhm,
I mean, normally when we're talking about ideal audiences, or audience segments, I think there is a big crossover between you and them. So if it's very hard to invent a target audience that you
mhm.
don't totally already identify with, I think, you know,
Yeah,
and sometimes people come and say, yeah, I want to target middle-aged women with rich husbands. And it's just like, but that's not you, you know, you don't know them well enough to be able, and if you start to try and fake it and pretend that you know what their problems are, what the solutions to those problems are, then it comes across as inauthentic anyway. So I usually think if you create something that appeals to you, then it's going to appeal to your target audience. It's although obviously you are a bit further along the journey than they are, hopefully, so you are going to come across as someone who has already trod that path that you are taking them along.
And I think that's really important what you said before about using language that resonates, because sometimes we will talk about things because we're at that kind of stage of that thing where that might not be the language that someone is using who's at the stage where you would want them to come on the retreat to get that transformation and take it to the next level.
I won't hold it against you this time.
No, it's almost like I always describe this as a bit of a journey, like understanding what bus stop that person's at that you might need to drive to so that they can get on the bus to come to the next bus stop or the next part of the journey.
I used to drive buses. How did you know that? I spent 10 years driving buses.
Funny.
That's for another conversation, obviously.
So just tell us before like we come to the end of this, I'd love to know like what is it that makes your venue so special? Because I've seen it in photos and you've talked about it and I know what it is for me that makes it so special. But what would you say makes it special, and how can people contact you if they want to book their retreat with you?
Yeah, so what makes it special? I think it is in a special place. I mean, Almeria province in Spain, where we are, is still very rural. It's not touristy. We're in a very secluded position on a hillside over the Rambla, looking out over the hills and mountains. But I suppose it could be a wonderful building with wonderful views and all of that, and still be a very cold and welcoming place. I think from what people tell us, and not blowing my own trumpet, that it is me and Jane what makes it special. What we want to be seen as is, I don't know, perhaps your favourite uncle and auntie that you're going to stay with or something like that, so that when you walk in you feel at home and relaxed straight away. We always laugh about this, and we always say to people that first day when they arrive, I'll be doing something in the kitchen and people will come in and say, it's all right if I make a cup of tea, Pat? And I'll say, yes, it is, but I don't want you to ask me that tomorrow. You know where the tea bags is and the kettle and the milk and the sugar. Just come in and make your own. And that's when we know people have relaxed, when they'll just wander in and say, all right, make yourself a cup of tea, you know, which is a small thing, but for us, it shows that we've broken down that barrier between us and them, you know, strangers and other people. And they are starting to just relax into the environment that we've tried to create here. Well, not tried to create, we have created naturally, I think. I don't think there was any, we didn't sit down and think, right, how are we going to be? Are we going to be cold and this, you know, distant, or are we going to be warm and well? Oh, let's try warm and welcoming to start with, you know. I think that's just the way we naturally are. We have always been in jobs where we were working with people. You know, and we've learned the hard way that the easiest way to get on with people is just to be nice to them.
Absolutely.
Even if they are being a bit dicky sometimes. Again, that's a story for another time.
I love it.
And if people do want to get in touch with us, obviously I am within the Coaching Corner community, so you can find me on the group there, or under Patrick Bryan on Facebook, and I will send over our LinkedIn profile link to Sarah so that she can put it up in the chat afterwards.
Amazing. So yeah, it'll be featured. So all your links. So for anyone watching this on replay, they'll be featured in the description of this episode. So yeah, you can contact.
And you know, just going back to what you said about people can bring their retreats here. I mean, I'm happy just to arrange a call and have a chat about your idea, no matter how vague it is or how unvalidated you think it is. just to give you some support, actually,
Mm.
just to give you the pointers of the things that you need to have in place before you start planning, and then the things you need to do once you do start the planning, particularly in regard to pricing, venue selection, and also having ways to maximise the profit from your retreat, which sounds very mercenary and callous and that, but if you don't have something to offer people at the end of your retreat when they're desperate to keep working with you, you are
Mm.
doing them a disservice.
That's a really good point. And we haven't even mentioned all of the additional things that you offer as part of the retreat. So fully kind of all inclusive with the like the food, everything done for you, and which is what I really loved about that as well, that you can be really hands off in terms of the cooking and all of those type of things, and really focus on what it is that you're delivering
Yeah,
to the people that are coming, which is amazing.
I think that was something intentional on our part, that we realised how, when we started running our own, well, we knew from the training courses, obviously, but they're 1 or 2 days. But when you get up to 3, 4, 5 days, it's exhausting being in front of people all the time and always being on, you know.
Yeah.
Then if you add in all those layers of having to worry about the catering and worrying about this and worrying about that, which is why we decided that it would be fully catered.
Yeah.
We would always be on site as sort of the in-house retreat team. When the whole of Spain went on a power cut, we had 7 authors in the house, and it was
Wow.
like, what do we do now?
Yeah.
But like the leader of the retreat said, imagine if you hadn't been here, someone who knew who to go to in the town hall and find out what was going
Yeah.
on, who knew where the local markets was, where you could go and buy every potato on the store, because that might have been, if it went on 2 weeks, that would
Oh, it's
probably
making
would
me
have been the
so
case.
hungry. It's making me so hungry talking about food.
So that is something that you don't have to worry about. And we always say you can concentrate on delivering your content and looking after your audience with one-to-ones and things, attendees, and we will take care of the rest.
I love it. So in terms of how to contact you, if people want like a discovery call, a conversation with you, just to help get some ideas for their retreats and how to shape that, do people contact you on the details that you're going to put in the links?
Yes, yeah. If they just drop me a message or something like that, then I'll get back in touch and we can start the conversation that way.
Okay, that's
I
brilliant.
can send over my Calendly link actually when I send you the
That would
details,
be
and
good,
then
and I
they could book a
can do
call
that.
direct
Yeah,
with me and
that's brilliant.
take out the steps in between.
I love it. I love it. I love keeping things simple.
Yeah,
So Pat, it's been amazing speaking with you, and I know I'll definitely be in touch because we're running our retreats and many more to come. It's already given me different ideas because I work with lots of different people, so it's given me ideas of, oh, we could have a retreat for this, which I can definitely see how the promise can be really crystal clear with other things that I'm doing as well. So we'll definitely keep in touch. And yeah, it's been great
yeah.
speaking with you, Pat.
No, and you, Sarah, and I can't wait to welcome you in the front door here.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pat. Take care.
All right, cheerio then. Bye.
Bye.